The first thing that we do recommend is completing the Get Active questionnaire for pregnancy. So the Get Active questionnaire for pregnancy is a tool that's designed to empower pregnant people to identify whether or not they have potential contraindications or medical reasons why exercise may not be recommended during pregnancy. It's a self-screening tool. You fill it out. If you answer yes to any question, you go speak to your healthcare provider. If you answer no to all of the questions, then you're essentially good to go with beginning physical activity. If you are not active before you were pregnant, we recommend that you start slow, start low, and gradually build up towards the recommended guideline of 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity each week. However, it's really important that even if you aren't able to achieve those 150 minutes, physical activity well below the guidelines are still associated with significant health benefits. So for example, if you engage in 60 minutes per week, so it's just 10 minutes of a brisk walk on 6 out of 7 days per week, it's associated with a 25% reduction in the odds of developing preeclampsia during pregnancy. If you bump that up to 15 minutes per day, you also have a 25% reduction in the odds of developing gestational hypertension and gaining above the recommended guidelines during pregnancy. So lots of benefits, even well below those 150 minutes. Moderate intensity is basically where you're having an increase in your breathing rate, an increase in your heart rate. You might start to sweat just a little bit, but not very much. This would be the equivalent of going out for a brisk walk on a nice day. If you are going out for a walk or something like that, you're totally fine to go out and do so. However, if you do have specific questions about the types of activities and exercises that you can do during pregnancy, what types of lifts that you're able to do, what types of aerobic activities, I really strongly recommend going to speak to a qualified exercise professional who specializes in pregnancy and the postpartum period to get advice. A contraindication is a medical reason why you would not engage in moderate to vigorous physical activity during pregnancy. And there's two different types of contraindications. The first is a relative contraindication. When you develop this type of condition, you would go speak to your healthcare provider about the pros versus the cons of engaging in exercise during pregnancy. For the vast majority who develop relative contraindications, physical activity can continue after you've spoken to your healthcare provider, but oftentimes we have to modify the intensity, the duration, or the type of activity that you're doing. The second type of contraindication is an absolute contraindication. In this case, it's recommended that you not engage in moderate to vigorous physical activity. So going for a brisk walk, going for a jog, that type of activity is not recommended because there is a stronger potential for adverse effects for either yourself or to your baby. However, it's really important to understand that you can continue your activities of daily living. You can still get up, get dressed, make coffee when you have an absolute contraindication. This is because there's extensive evidence which has demonstrated that restricting all activity, also known as being bed rested or activity restricted, is not healthful for either yourself or your baby.